Wow. Wow. I could sit and listen to them all day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, absolutely. Thank you both. Beautiful. Well, top of the morning, everyone. Happy Sunday morning to you. It's a pleasure to be with you, be back with you. Julie and I had a nice little jaunt away. We went down to San Antonio, and we've been kind of curious about and learning about real estate and things like that, and so we've just kind of been working and took a workshop to kind of learn a little bit more about a way of working with real estate and that sort of thing. And we're still in kind of an exploration stage. And we went to one day of the program and decided that program wasn't for us. So we decided to go to a wonderful museum there in San Antonio, which we love. The San Antonio Art Museum is just beautiful. If you get a chance to go, there's some great exhibits there. So it was a great weekend, and we had a nice relaxing time, and had a good, nice, relaxing weekend. It was nice to have that bit of a break, and it was nice to actually give our wonderful Laura Kofer an opportunity for her to share her gifts and talents. And I did get a chance to watch the video, and I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great. She did a wonderful job. So anyway, we've been working with a particular book, and this is actually the 7th and the last in our series on Ask Yourself This: Questions to Open the Heart, Expand the Mind, and Awaken the Soul. And this week our subject is ask yourself this to be more successful. And I've been thinking about this, and there are some wonderful questions that can actually help us to think about how we are thinking about ourselves and about success. I came across a story, of course. I always like to start off with a little story, naturally. There was a man in a community that had a reputation for always being able to catch fish. And so regardless of the time of the year or when it was or whether anybody else was catching or not, he was always able to go out and catch fish. And his brother-in-law was a game warden and just was kind of curious how he was able to always do that. So the guy invited him to go with him one time to show him what he was doing, how he was able to catch fish. So they go out in the boat, and they're out there. Any fishermen in the group? A few fishermen out here? Yeah, they went out in the boat. You'll appreciate this one. They went out in the boat, and they're sitting there in the boat, and they're being quiet, and he's sitting there, and he noticed that he didn't even bring a fishing rod. And he looked at him and says, "Well, aren't you going to fish?" He says, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to fish." So he had a bag with him, and he reached into the bag and pulled out a stick of dynamite. And he lit the stick of dynamite, threw it in the water, boom! Next thing you know, fish are floating up to the top of the surface. And the guy was a game warden. He says, "What are you doing?" He started listing the laws and the regulations and told him all the reasons why this was, and was just going on and on. And so the next thing you know, the guy reaches into the bag and pulls out another stick of dynamite, lights it, and tosses it to the game warden. He says, "Are you going to talk or are you going to fish?" Well, sometimes it feels like in life that Spirit, God, throws us a stick of dynamite and says, "Are you going to talk or are you going to fish?" And sometimes we go through experiences that put us in a situation where we do need to make choices, make decisions. And I don't know, I might have decided to try and pull the fuse out, but who knows what would have happened if that would have happened. But, there are options and there are ways of looking at things and there are ways of thinking about life and about success. I came across another story, and you guys familiar with Irma Bombeck, the comedian and writer, and she has some rules here. I want to read you some of her rules. Number 1, she says, never have more children than you have car windows. Thought that was a good one. Number 2, never loan your car to someone to whom you have given birth. Number 3, pick your friends carefully. A friend never goes on a diet when you are fat or tells you how lucky you are to have a husband who remembers you on Mother's Day when his gift is a smoke alarm. Number 4, seize the moment. Remember all those women on the Titanic who waved off the dessert cart. And then number 5, Know the difference between success and fame. Success is Mother Teresa and fame is Madonna.
Yeah.
I thought about that one a little bit, and I realized that that's not always the case. And sometimes you can have fame and success, but it's not necessarily the focus. I thought that was kind of interesting, though. Number 6, never be in a hurry to terminate a marriage. Remember, you may need this person, this man, this woman, someday to finish your sentences. And number 7, there are no guarantees in marriage. If that's what you're looking for, go live with a Sears battery. And number 8, never go to a class reunion pregnant. They will think that that's all you've been doing since you graduated. I think it's always good to kind of start off thinking about our lessons in life with some humor and some laughter. Kind of helps us open up to the greater possibilities. And one of the things I love about Unity is the understanding the idea of inclusiveness, our unity. And it really, there's a couple of different things that really drew me to Unity in the first place. One is our inclusiveness, our connection, our recognition of our oneness with each other. And the other is the understanding of our creative possibilities and potential. And that how we are doing that through our own thoughts and thinking and belief systems and awarenesses. Those are two. I mean, there's some other aspects, of course, of Unity that I really love as well, but those are two that really spoke to me when I first started coming into Unity. And one of the questions that I think it's important to ask, but it's not necessarily one of the questions that Wendy asked in the book. And one of the questions that came to me as I was reading this work and thinking about sharing this is, the subject today is asking questions that help you to be more successful. And although Wendy kind of alludes to this in the introduction to the chapter, she doesn't really ask this question specifically. The question I have is, how do you, or how do I, define success? Before we actually begin thinking about different questions that can help us to be more successful, I think it's important and valuable for us to listen to and pay attention to and ask that question of ourselves, how do I personally define success? It's not specifically spelled out, but it is implied in some of her descriptions. But, you know, as we begin to grow spiritually, we begin to recognize and understand that true success really happens within us, and then it allows us to have whatever expressions of success that we see in the world. And if we allow the world to define our success, we'll be forever chasing after something that is a dream that perhaps is not one that is our own, or living from a place and in a life that ultimately is going to not feed our soul. And so, true success, it seems to me, is a natural unfolding of our own unique possibilities and potential, our own unique contributions to life, to the experiences of life and to the world. And it's not just a series of acquisitions or promotions or status. Those things may come, and it's great that they do, but they come mostly as a result of that inner awareness of how we define ourselves and how we define our success in life. And we will find that ultimately, if we get those things without having defined success from an inner place and begun expressing what really is successful for us, then those will actually become empty for us. So they may be great accomplishments in many ways, but they won't necessarily be feeding our soul. But if they happen as a result of following our heart, if they happen as a result of our passions and our giving of our gifts and our desires, and as a result of sharing our gifts and making a difference, a positive difference in the lives of our own self, but also others, then we will find that those things that do come to us have great benefit and a great blessing in our lives, and they allow us to actually be able to do even more of that. Does that make sense? So one of the questions that Wendy asked about success is, when we think about something that we want to experience more of in our life, whether it be more health, more peace, more love, more abundance, more prosperity, and we set particular intentions and goals in life, which are important, I think, for us to really be able to experience those in an outer way, one of the questions that we want to ask ourselves that I think is really empowering, and the question that she poses is it really impossible? Is it really impossible? Sometimes when we set intentions, we have already made a decision before we actually set the intention that it's not possible, and we don't set that intention. Does that make sense? Sometimes we don't set clear intentions because we've already decided that it's impossible. And so part of our work is to really ask that question, is it really impossible? Many times looking at things that we want to do in our lives, we feel maybe perhaps that we're not up to it, or it's too small. We're too small to be able to accomplish what it is that we feel like we're being called to do at times. We also have these little voices inside that, I heard someone say that oftentimes we're all convicted by a jury of our fears. And we have these little voices inside as well that say all kinds of reasons why this isn't possible. This goal or this desire or this intention is not going to work because, fill in the blank. We're too this, we're too that, we're not enough this, we're not enough that. We're too old, we're too young, we're too big, we're too small. You know the twos that I'm talking about, right? We all tend to have those, so I think it's valuable, and one of the things that I love in Unity also is this understanding that ultimately, whether something is possible or not, really comes about with our own awareness and alignment with the possibilities and looking at the possibilities. I love the story in the New Testament where the father comes to Jesus and the daughter is very ill, and he's wanting Jesus to come and heal the daughter. And Jesus said, "She will be healed if you believe." And the father says to him, "I believe, help my unbelief." I think this is a very powerful understanding and a spiritual principle at work here. Because the reality is we all have belief systems and we all have an ability to believe what's possible, but at the same time we can have that feeling and that belief system. Intellectually we can probably rationalize that, well, it could be possible, but there's part of us that says that it's not. And so there's this kind of tussle that goes on within us. And part of what I think is being presented here is an understanding that what we put our energy toward, what we put our focus in, is the direction that we're going to be creating. Right? Energy flows where attention goes. Isn't that the way the saying goes? And so part of our work is to notice and pay attention to what we're putting our energy toward and how much energy we're putting toward what's the possible in life, as opposed to putting our energy into this idea or thought or feeling or belief system of it being impossible. Or for that matter, all of the seeming obstacles that would pop up as you're moving toward what's possible. I remember this quote, I was trying to remember who actually said this originally, but I know Henry Ford re-quoted it, but he said, obstacles are those annoying things that pop up when you take your eyes off of the goal. When you take your eyes off of the goal, you'll find all kinds of objections and all kinds of things that make it not possible for you to really live your dream, to really live your goal. So ask yourself this question: is it really impossible? Whitney gives a great story of George Danzig. And George Danzig was a student at the University of California in Berkeley. And at the time this happened, he was late for a particular statistics class. And he came in late to the class, and he noticed the professor was up lecturing, and he noticed that there were 2 problems written up on the board. And so he wrote down the problems, and he went off and assumed that they were homework and began working on them and put a lot of time and energy into it, and really it turned out to be pretty challenging problems. But he came up with a solution, and he turned in his assignment the next week. And the professor came back to him later and was just all excited and was just throwing his hands up and was just amazed because he had written these 2 problems up on the board as 2 impossible problems to solve. George Danzig didn't know they were impossible. And so he solved them, and he wound up becoming one of the greatest. He became the father of linear programming, they say. So ask yourself, what would you do or could you do if you didn't know it was impossible? If you really didn't know that it was impossible. So another question that comes up that I think is really valid and valuable in being able to really experience and express more of our own unique nature in whatever way that we're being called to do that. If I could solve the how, what would I do? So ask yourself this question. If I could solve the how, what would I do? See, this kind of gets to the idea of separating problem solving from decision making. Let me say that again because I think it's a valuable distinction and one that we oftentimes miss. Learning to shift our awareness out of problem solving into decision making. We have a tendency to think that we have to have the problems solved before we can make the decision. And I'm going to suggest to you that when you're working with spiritual principles, when we're working with creative mind, when we're working with these kind of understandings, you make the decision of what, and the universe will begin to show you the how. If you set a very clear intention in life, and you hold that energy and that awareness, you will be amazed at what will unfold for you, and the how will begin to come to you in ways that you didn't dream possible. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to figure it out. We have a tendency to ask the how before we're willing to commit to the what. But I'm going to suggest to you that the more you can really let go of the need to have the how in the moment of decision making, and really listen to your inner spirit, listen to your heart, listen to what you're being called and pulled toward, and then make that decision. You'll begin to be led toward the how with each step that you take. You probably won't be given the whole picture of the how. You may be given a step that you can take that will move you in the direction of your overall dream or goal or intention. And so we have to really look at our own thinking processes and really asking the question, am I really getting caught up in problem solving before I've ever set my intentions? I think about this particular facility that we're sitting in right now as an example of that. We had a group of people who were absolutely open to the possibilities and knowing that we could manifest a wonderful space for ourselves. And really, we didn't have the how, did we? In fact, we didn't know a lot about how it was going to happen. But we trusted and we opened ourselves to the possibilities that were beyond our own limited thinking of how it could happen. And Spirit provided a way. Spirit provided a way. So we're experiencing the benefits of this understanding of this process. If I could solve the how, what would I do? It comes out of the understanding that that we need to release the idea that we have to have the how before we can really assert and affirm and be clear on the what. I love this saying from Richard Bach in the book Illusions. How many of you read the book Illusions? Oh, just a few. We're going to have to do a series on that, obviously. That's one of my favorite works. If you've not read the book Illusions, I highly recommend you read that book. It was life-changing for me. But one of the things that is said in this work, and you may have heard it in other places in other ways, but argue for your limitations, and what's the rest of it? And sure enough, they're yours. Let me say it again. Argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. I've heard it another way. If you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right. So part of our unfolding in this creative process and learning to be more successful is to really let go of the belief systems that say something is not possible. We don't know what's possible, to be honest, do we? We honestly do not know what's possible. Think about that for a moment. There are things that have gone on in this world, in our lives, in our experiences, that we probably, before they happened, thought they were impossible. You've got experiences of that, I know you do. Think about them for a moment. Think about all the things that you thought really weren't possible that are already so now. And I can assure you there are other opportunities to experience that in life. And that's part of what this is really about, is learning to step out of a particular way of looking at life and really affirming and knowing that there is a principle and a process that we can tune into, a creative process that will give us the how as it is needed. Not beforehand, but as it is needed. So the question really is, what do I really want to bring forth in myself and in my life? And letting go of the belief system that it says it's impossible. Another question. If I knew I would be successful, what would I say yes to? If I knew I would be successful, what would I say yes to? That first question kind of helps lead to the second one. What would I say yes to in life if I knew that it was going to be successful? What am I saying no to now because I have set up this belief system that says it's not possible? Sometimes we get answers when we say yes to things that we really didn't know we were going to do or could do. Laura gave a great example of that last week. She said she'd made a commitment that this year it was the year that she was going to say yes. And so when I went to ask her if she would speak for us, she said yes. I also know that she noted a number of people who were nodding their head when she asked if I gave them that opportunity that they would say yes. So don't be surprised if there's an opportunity in life. I want to share with you an experience, and I don't know why I want to share this other than it just was something that it has absolutely nothing to do that I can think of my lesson. But it just came to me, and I don't know why, and maybe something will come out of it. But this last week, we had weather that came in that alarmed everybody, and it shut down the schools. What day was that, Thursday? Yeah, Thursday of this week. And so whenever the schools closed down, Julie's work closed down. And so Julie was home that day, and I decided to work from home that day also. And I was busy working in my office and really pretty concentrating on whatever I was doing on something. And all of a sudden, I hear the garbage disposal go on, and I jumped up and I freak out, and I thought, oh my gosh, the cats. And I ran into the kitchen, and I thought surely the cats had turned on the garbage disposal. And I realized that there's Julie, and I'd totally forgotten that she was home that day. And I freaked out, and I knew the cats were getting into the garbage disposal. I'm not sure what that has to do with my lesson, but something just told me I needed to tell that story. So sometimes we think things are happening that aren't really happening, I guess. Sometimes I think we think about things and we are not aware, and maybe we get tuned into a particular way of looking at things, and we're not really conscious and aware or don't remember something. And there are possibilities that can define us in life, but they are internal possibilities. One of the internal possibilities, and one of the questions that Wendy invites us to ask, is this: who must I become to manifest whatever? Who must I become to manifest my dreams? Who must I become to manifest this particular goal? Who must I become in order to have these experiences in my life? Who must I be in order to have a greater experience of health, a greater experience of love in my relationships? Who must I become to have a relationship, to be in a relationship? Who must I be in order to have the kinds of things that I want to experience in my life? We have a tendency to focus on how can I make the world fit into the mold that I want it to fit into so that it fits me. But there's a part of our understanding that we are an unfolding creative being and that we have to be what it is that we want to draw into our experiences in life, right? Be the change that you want to see in the world. Now, part of that may be simply accepting who we are and how we are, in the way we are, and how we're showing up in life, and trusting and knowing that what's being drawn to us is exactly what we want and what we need to grow, to unfold, to find even more depth within our own being, to find an even stronger expression of the gifts that we've been given in life. And so it's a very powerful question to ask: who do I need to be in order to manifest and draw to me and attract the kinds of experiences that I want to experience in life? And am I willing to do that? That's another part of the question. Another part of the question is, am I willing to do that? So I want you to think about some of these questions, and I want to think about the goal, the thing that brings forth more of your unique divine expression in the world. There's a number of reasons for that. You see, all of us have an important part to play. All of us have a significant, unique role to play in life. I'm convinced of that. And because the very thing that you have to offer, someone else is not going to be able to offer that in the same way, at the same time, with the same people, in the same kind of context. And so there's a unique gift that you have to share, and asking yourself these kinds of questions can help you to unfold in the possibilities of a greater experience and expression in life. I think that we get here together, you and I, we've come together for a divine purpose. I think we come here on Sunday mornings, believe it or not, for a divine purpose. I think that purpose is part of it to help us to experience more of our own unique divine nature, but also part of that purpose is for us to show that unique divine purpose to each other. To hold that light within ourselves of the possibilities of everyone in this room. You are sharing a gift of life, of spirit, of light, when you look out with all of this beautiful community and you see the amazing, wonderful differences that are here and the amazing, wonderful possibilities and gifts of love, of joy, of abundance, of health, of prosperity, of healing, all of the amazing possibilities of good in life. I came across, and this is actually a quote that I came across many years ago. It's been one of my favorite quotes about success. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "What is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics, and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. I love that quote. It's Ralph Waldo Emerson. Yeah. So we come together on Sunday, I believe, to learn, to be inspired, to support one another, to change our lives, and to be the change in the world. And so I'm going to close with also this series and also this lesson with a quote from Rainier Marie Rilke, another one of my favorite quotes. Rilke says, "Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves. Like locked rooms and like books, they are now written in a foreign tongue. Do not seek the answers which cannot be given to you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. And perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer." So I leave you with this opportunity, perhaps this challenge, to continue asking these questions throughout your life. To continue asking the questions that really help you to go deeper into what is the true essence of your nature. To ask those questions that challenge your assumptions, that challenge your belief systems. Ask those questions that challenge what is real and what is yet unreal, but possible. Ask those questions that lift you into a higher awareness of your greater possibilities for good in the world. And then take the time to listen and be open to living in to those answers. And that's our lesson, and that's the conclusion of this series. Hope you have fun with that, and I hope you continue to learn and grow with those questions. God bless you. Let's move into our meditation time. So I invite you to move into that comfortable place, that place where you can move into the stillness and the silence within your own nature, within your own being, allowing yourself to breathe in and out, feeling the openness of the breath and allowing the breath to flow in and out through you. And as you breathe in and out, give thanks for this opportunity to simply be still. Peace. Be still. And in this place of stillness and silence, allow yourself to simply be open to the questions of life, is this really possible? When you think about the dreams, the desires, the aspirations, is my energy focused toward holding thoughts of the impossible? Or am I open to a greater possibility? I've heard that one definition of faith is the willing suspension of disbelief. The willing suspension of disbelief. Am I willing to suspend my doubts, my fears, my disbelief of what's possible? Am I willing to become and experience and express who I can be and who I need to be to attract and draw to me the good that I desire in life for myself and for those around me in my world? Am I willing to allow that spirit of humility to be changed, to be transformed by the renewing of my heart and mind? Am I willing to let go of the walls of my resistance? My need to have things be the way I think they're supposed to be, and be open to the possibilities of what they can be, beyond my own awareness, limiting thoughts, beliefs. Let's take time now in the quiet of our being to listen to that still small voice that is continually calling us upward, onward, and forward, and through. In the silence. In the silence. Thank you, Blessed Spirit, for your voice that is continually speaking and calling and moving me into an even greater possibility of good. And for the questions that help me to free myself from my blocks and limitations. Thank you for the questions. And so it is. Take a nice deep breath. Breathe into the heart space. Take another nice deep breath. Give thanks for all the good. Always and in all ways. And so it is. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Be present here, now. And so it is. Thank you, Dad.